Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition. I'm here with the young Christian, Dave Wilson. Yes, it's me, Nerdy Psy. What's up, Dave?
What's up, nerdy?
All right, this week, man, we're going to get into some stuff, man. We got, I know off when we wasn't in the studio, we was talking about what happened in South Carolina, and we had mentioned that someone was talking about this country is going down the hill, and I was saying, when have this country been great? Yeah. So I asked you to pick a year. I said, Dave, pick a year this country was great.
I was trying to make it.
And you said 1945. Everybody in the country was happy in 1945. What made you pick that year, though?
I was making a joke, but and when I said everybody, I didn't mean everybody in the country. I was actually referring to everybody in Europe thought the U.S. was great because in 1945 was when we beat the Nazis.
Oh,
so everyone
right.
loved the U.S. and loved Britain.
And you know what's sad? Even some
Hitler.
of the Americans who went over there and fought, even when they came back, they couldn't even go into certain restaurants and stuff. So that's what, I was coming from that perspective. It was like, well, yeah, there's always been some Americans that's happy.
Well, yeah, and even then, at the time, the military was segregated. So.
Yeah, and matter of fact, let me ask you this.
I don't think any war was. I think the first war that was not segregated was Vietnam, because that was a big political thing that MLK was using. Was why is it that our white and black people can fight and die together, but we can't have lunch together?
Isn't that amazing? In this country, and on the dollar bills, it says, "In God we trust." I don't think it should say that, but I know you're a religion man. You're the young Christian. What do you think of America and some of all the things that's happened in America to certain particular groups, but yet this country still is yelling, "God trust America"? I mean, come on, man.
Well, I mean, I guess.
Did God bless that man being shot? Now, I do believe God had a role in there, because we talking about the cop shooting in South Carolina, and it was one particular guy who was on his way to work, the Dominican guy, and he filmed it, right? And so he was the only one there. I do believe God did place him there.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he wouldn't have been there, what do you think would have happened?
They would have had to. They would have, I guess, not have to, because they could have taken his word if he had spoken up as a witness. But without the video, it would have been literally, I saw the cop do this, and the cop said, "That's not true. I did that."
It'd have been their word against theirs.
And the rule is the cop wins. So
exactly, and so that's where God said, "Oh no, not in this situation." And when you see the parents, the mom of the victim, they are really God-fearing people, man. They've already forgiven the guy for killing their son or their brother. If that would have been me,
there'd be a dead cop.
No, I would never break the law. I don't believe in that, but I could forgive, but it wouldn't be that quick.
Yeah, right.
I need time, man.
Yeah, same thing. Most people have trouble forgiving. Most people do have trouble forgiving. I probably would be the same way. I may never.
But you're a Christian.
Man, but I have to admit, forgiveness is one of the hardest things for me to do. It's not all forgiveness, Even I can forgive some people, but when you kill my kid, that would scar me in so many ways. So forgiveness is, it's one of those. I like saying that, God gave us. God has his expectations, and we're going to fall short. And that would be where I would say, God, it's going to take me some time.
Well, back to that question then. Okay, one of the biggest staples, not just the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all the other, et cetera, is that America has built itself on a foundation, a religious foundation, based on like God is really looking over America. And a lot of people don't believe that, but we feel like we're the special group that,
Yeah. Well,
how could all this stuff that's happened in the history of America, and all this stuff happened when there were slaves, and I'm not trying to go way back or whatever, Dave, but what I'm saying is, you're a Christian, and a lot of times Christians was behind a lot of these things. Even Notre Dame, they said Notre Dame, participated in the slave trade. I know I'm just going over stuff, and I need to go into deep detail, but I'm just talking about Christian using this moniker Christian and God.
Well, I
in
mean,
this country, it's a devilish country, man.
it is, but at the same time, like when you ask, how can God let all this happen? At the same time, remember, if you go back to one of the first stories of the Bible, the people he chose, Abraham's people, the people he chose as his nation, Israel, was enslaved for 400 years by Egyptians. So, and God has a much bigger plan than we can even fathom. So
you saying people being killed, murdered, lied on, that's part of God's plan? Is that what you're saying, Dave?
no,
Come on, Dave. Come on,
no,
Dave.
he doesn't kill people.
Come on, Dave.
He doesn't kill people like that.
No, I'm not saying
Because
God killed people, but look at all this stuff, man.
The best way to say it is that he purposely doesn't have every single control for two reasons. One, to give us our free will because he loves us that much. And two, in the story of when they asked Jesus, why is this man blind? What did he or his parents do to deserve him to be blind? And Jesus said, he is not blind to be punished. He's not blind because God made it so. He was born blind, and the reason God, I guess, let that happen, I'm not saying that he purposely is like, you know what, go ahead, I'm gonna make you blind, but he became blind so the glory of God could be shown through him. And what did Jesus do? He made mud, and he made the man see that very moment.
Oh, okay. See, I was going to make a joke. Because Ray Charles was on today. The movie Ray was on today. So
you go.
I was going to make a joke about that, but that's a serious thing. But okay, so you saying a lot of times when people are going through these negative stuff, that's God's plan, that's in God's will.
The negative stuff itself, I mean, and I have to be saying this very carefully too, because I'm not saying that God can't work or God can't do whatever, but because he is all powerful, he is all knowing, but he puts his hands off of control, and I guess kind of lets the cards play so he can turn things into good. I have a friend who's in the NFL or going into the NFL draft this year, and he says it best. Sometimes it's not the successes that gives the glory to God. It's the struggle before, because you get to see someone keep their faith. You get to see the faithfulness of God and the fact that that he's staying with them, saying, "I'm with you, child."
So let me get that. What you are saying is that all the people who go through things, suffering in whatever way that is, it is because we need to see how strong they are?
No. We need to see how strong God is. I cannot say that I went through everything I went through if it wasn't for God. I cannot say that my girl, I mean, I can't say anything about that, but my girl straight up says that she can.
Your fiance?
My fiance, yes.
Right.
My fiance straight up says that she would not have been able to go through everything she went through in her life, and she's went through some stuff, if it wasn't for the faithfulness and the blessings God has given her.
So and I'm just going to use black people because that incident that happened in South Carolina was a white cop killing a black man. So that black man or black people in general, their faith is being tested right now, because that's what a lot of them probably believe in, right? Like God has a bigger plan. But a lot of times I'm sitting there going like, see, I look at God like this. I look at God like he's a referee, and he's just up there, and we all here, and we still got to fend for each other. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times people think I don't believe in God, but I believe in a higher power. But I just don't get into all the religion aspect of it, because if all this religion stuff was real and all that, especially what made me talk about what I'm talking about is because America uses God as some kind of foundation. And look, we fight wars. What do God believe in these wars America fighting? What is that all about? How would
Um,
God? What is God saying about that?
you know, I can't answer that question because first of all, I'm not God.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
but
I like the way you answered that
yeah,
though,
because
because
I
that's
mean,
the truth.
I can't.
However, how would you as a Christian? What do you say? Do you sit there and believe all the crap? Maybe because the propaganda of America, being a Christian country, being having faith, being strong, uh, being about equality, democracy. Maybe what I'm asking is, you as a Christian, because they keep pumping that in our heads, do you Christians believe that and just go blindly, and it's okay for Americans or any powerful country to go and kill other God's people?
No, no, it's not that we justify genocide or we justify killing for no reason. In
Well, why
some
don't Christians say something in this country when it's a war? Like, I'm not saying they don't.
yeah, I mean, you have both positive and negative sides of people speaking up and not speaking up, because you'll have the negative side of them not speaking up against it and just full force um, um, supporting everything the military does, spending all the money
Everything
and
the
spending all
American
the
government does,
everything the American government does, being extremely, you kind of get into that traditional Republican Christian views where everything the government does is right, every war we go into is justified, and then you run into the stereotypes that whoever we're fighting is evil, and whatever skin color or whatever things they believe in is evil.
Yeah, because they
And
sell
so,
a lot of fear, man. And
yeah.
what I was thinking about was, that's one aspect of Christianity that it sounds so familiar, that you guys are pumped with a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Almost just like how America pumps the American citizen with fear. Fear is very strong, man.
Yeah, and I'll get to that as soon as I finish going back to the first point, where you have two.
Did I interrupt your brother? I'm sorry.
Just the part where I was saying that there was the extreme of supporting the government entire, and then you have the other extreme where you have Christians who completely decide to bad talk everything, and then you run into what you'll see from the Southern First Baptist Church, going to funerals of these soldiers, and they have signs, and they're telling the family mourning their kid, your child's going to hell because of they were in the military. And that's not okay either, because they're hurt and they're watching their kid get buried, and you're over here telling them that child just went to hell. That's not okay by any standards of Christianity. Yet they're the ones who make it to the TV, and that's what I've seen. And the First Southern Baptist Church has got a really negative outlook on that because of what they've done. And so you have both positive and negative sides of completely supporting and going completely against, and calling everyone involved hell goers.
Now, are they calling them that because they feel that's murder being committed on other God's people?
I mean,
I've always believed that. See, I believe that it's murder. I don't care what you decide to call it. You can manipulate all you want all day, but it's still murder. They murder, and they try to hide behind this word, the WAR word, war, and they've convinced the American people. See, I know the American people have been convinced that yes, what America do is right for democracy. But what I'm trying to figure out is and I know you don't know all American Christians or whatever, but you and your circle, what how do they feel about that?
Well, one thing is, I understand that everyone who goes to war is are humans. Every veteran, everyone who went is a human person, and they have issues when they come back, and because they're people. So we respect that, and that's why you always say honor your troops. So one thing is, I don't think anyone should ever go against what the troops are saying. Now, whether it's a justifiable war or not, sometimes I don't even have the answer, because sometimes I don't even know what the facts are the facts. So, I will say that I think everyone has a right to defend their homeland, and and then you start running into dirty water, whether is going to war on terrorism really defending your, or are you really on the attack and just trying to get stuff? So
Yes, like, is it just about greed?
yeah, is it really greed?
Yeah.
Or are you really,
Because all these are principles that America is doing all these wars. Like, we have military bases in every country, but yet how many foreign military bases is in America?
none?
And we base that on our way is the right way,
Yeah.
on a Christian platform, basically. That's how I'm looking at it. This godly way. We've used God like a crooked preacher has used it.
Yes. Yeah. We there
Now,
is a
do
lot
Christians now? So, do you vote as a Christian?
yes.
So you believe in it. So you're participating in this. So you don't feel like, I don't want to say an innocent bystander, because you wouldn't be innocent. You participate in the voting process, the democracy, because you're American, right? But then let's say you voted for someone and then they voted to go into war. How would you feel about that? Knowing, and then you see on TV all these people have been murdered. How would you feel about that?
Well, I guess, I mean, my first thought is, well, I voted for the wrong person. I mean,
Well, you know what I mean? I'm just saying in general, if a politician, because
yeah,
whenever we
because
go to war, it's going to be some politician
yeah,
doing
and then
it, right?
and then
Oh, so you saying you vote? Oh, I get it now. So you saying you would vote for the candidate who was against the war, probably,
yeah,
or
and
who
maybe
had more? What is this thing when I be seeing people on the far right, Republicans saying far right Christians, the Christian way, and all that? I mean, what do you feel about that?
well,
They intertwine. They're bringing together politics and religion, man. I
Yeah,
thought
and
that was
see-
supposed to be separate, brother. Separate, brother.
Well, there are some verses where they say, God bless the nation that
Yeah.
that lives under
Come
your
on.
rule. It's true because
Do you know that by heart? That saying,
No.
one God. Come on, one
Oh,
nation.
One nation under. I might have. but
One
I-
nation under God, right?
Yeah,
Okay, come on, man.
but at
They
the
don't
same,
say one nation under the devil.
well, I mean, let's look at it as if the U.S. was a person for just a brief moment, so I can kind of make my explanation a little bit more sensible. But so if the U.S. was a person and it's saying "In God we trust," it's just like a person who goes to church and prays every night, but every day they go outside and they fall short. Every day I wake up and I sin, and every day I need repentance. And it's the same way with America. Even though they have these Christian beliefs, they fall short. They don't. I don't think they see it sometimes, and I think that they think that they have the religiosity of we're better than thou, and that there needs to be punishment in order, and that's a religious thinking. And one thing is that everyone is saying now, including myself, is that religiosity is a bad thing. Relationship with Christ is a good thing, but having a religion is having religiosity is
Now explain that
bad.
religiosity. I couldn't even pronounce the word. I must have ate too much sugar today.
Religious mentality is, so there's two different mentalities. There you have the relationship with Christ, and then a religion. A relationship with Christ is Christ-centered in the aim that you want to center everybody towards them. A religion mentality has a very punishment and has a very fearful, and this goes back to what you were talking about. This is the part where everyone talks about fear, and they focus on the fear, and you start getting into really ugly and muddy water when you start focusing on the fear too much, because you don't focus on the blessings and all the positive and being Christ-centered. You're not focusing on the Christ, you're focusing on the fear. And for example, you don't follow Christ because he died for me and he's just an awesome loving God. You're following Christ because you don't want to go to hell. You see the different mentalities, and that's where religion and relationship differ. And then when you're in a religion, the other issue is it's not forgiveness centered either, because if you break the rules of the religion, they expect punishment. If you break the rules of the relationship, it's just like a friendship. If you hurt your friend and your friend says, that hurt, you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't do it again," and you work on that as a friend. So there's the other difference of religion and relationship. You have the punishment and fear on one side, and you have the aim of creating a stronger bond and forgiveness on the other side.
So now you use the analogy as a person, right?
Yes.
So what about this entity of America? And I understand you broke that down, but it's like, well, it's a process to end up in these situations. Whereas a human individual makes individual mistakes.
Yes.
But what America does has to be thought out. It has to be a process. So sometimes I'm thinking, well, in this process, wouldn't they? It's not like a mistake. Like an individual can make a mistake.
Right.
Right, and be forgiven and go on, et cetera, et cetera. But this process, what America has to do and I'm not even saying America is doing wrong in all these other countries, because I don't believe it's an American thing. I just believe it's the American businessman. If you guys have listened to any of the other shows, you would know that's how I feel. And I'm not all rich men or not all businessmen. I'm just saying the greedy ones who want more profit. And so how can we say it's all about God, or God is not participating, but looking over America, when the wrong that is being done is done in a process? So you would think somewhere in this process, you would stop yourself and go, hey, this is wrong. We shouldn't be over there killing other people, regardless.
Right. And sticking to my analogy, it's a process, yes. So you would think there should be less mistakes. I disagree, actually, because in all honesty, a person, I think, has a better mentality than a society, because a person can sit there and look at his mistake and process and think for themselves and do this and work on that and create a better person within themselves. A society, on the other hand, doesn't have a process of thinking. It follows the society.
Society, brother. Brother Dave, society.
And, a society judges, a society is afraid, a society is scared. So even though there is a legal process, the society has the mentality, and it's an easy way to get through the process because everyone's thinking the same when you're in the group. It's just like you.
Well, you know what that's called, especially when you interject religion. So you saying America, and I've always said this, and you just agreed with me. You just don't know. America is one big old cult. Pushing on equality, conjunction, junction. What's your? Remember when we was little?
Yeah.
They would play that. What's your fun? Just condition us over and over. I had a fifth
grade teacher that loved that one specifically. She would we watched it one time, and then the rest of the year, she would randomly walk around class, conjunction. But anyways, yeah, and I don't even think it's America in general. I think it's people.
Evil people, right, Dave?
Just people.
Because people make mistakes in Christian eyes. They're only human. I hear that all the time, every time something is going on. And I get it when we're dealing with individuals. But as a group, as you're saying, as a society, you would think someone within that society would say, hey, this is wrong.
You would think so, but
how can all of them just be,
because people don't like responsibility. People don't like having dirt in their hands. People want it easy, and people want to be comfortable. And it's an issue, and it's an ugly.
Had to give you a laugh on that laugh track. People don't want responsibility.
People don't want responsibility. People want to be comfortable. It's one of the.
You hit it right on the nose, because that's what I say. When you see a man being shot, it makes you wonder, okay, well, how can they say, because that police officer had to take an oath with his hand on the Bible. Mm-hmm. So how could he do that? Plant evidence, shoot a man in the back, right? He had to put his hand on a Bible and take an oath, man.
And
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my whole point of it is, yes, people don't want responsibility, but somebody has to
And
speak up, man.
I agree. As you know, we should. We should.
People. I was gonna get to you said people are comfortable, and that's what happens with that fear. Like whenever something is going wrong in the city, people start moving to the suburbs. They don't realize those same problems that was in the city is gonna move to the suburbs. No matter where you go, it's gonna be the same.
Right.
Sooner or later. So why don't you just stay there, have some balls and some guts, and deal with it?
Because they don't want their guts on the street.
That's it. But it's gonna come later. Maybe not for them, but for someone else. But then that person or that situation that created all that might create a person who might end up harming someone close to you later, and you don't even know. And you could have prevented it earlier, but you didn't know.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest sociology cases. This is one of when sociology was getting brand new into the science, and was where a woman was outside and she got mugged and raped, and it was right outside her apartment her apartment complex, and it was kind of like a U-shaped, and she was right in the middle of it, and everyone could hear it happen to her. There were people watching from her window as it was happening. And because everyone had the mentality like, oh, the neighbors will call the police. The neighbors will call the police. And everyone has that mentality, no one called the police. The guy left, and then he came back and beat her and raped her again. And then, the same exact thing. Well, eventually someone has to call the police. And everyone has that mentality. Somebody there has to call the police. And, it's gone.
And when I realized that, I didn't mean to cut you off. When I realized that America has that, especially, and you're a white guy, well, is when this is before your time, when the O.J. Simpson, you heard of O.J. Simpson?
Yes.
Now, this is when I realized white America, or just people in general, they only concerned when it affects them, right? Because black people was yelling and constantly, the justice system needs to be changed. The justice system needs to be changed. They were saying that for centuries, decades, forever, right? Never heard a white person say that. I've never heard a white person say that until after the O.J. verdict. All of a sudden, I started hearing white people saying the justice system needs to be changed. It's something's wrong with the justice. See, when it happens to us, whoever it is, black, white, whatever, that's when we want to say something. And what I'm saying is, you should speak up before it happens to you. Mm-hmm. When you see it happening to others. That's what I thought being a Christian is. But like you have a lot of knowledge. Mm-hmm. You seem like a good person, and you get married or whatever. You seem like the regular old American who's just gonna get married, raise your family,
and be comfortable,
man, with your good job, while the rest of the world. But what you don't realize, sooner or later, that's going to catch up with you.
And it might, or it also depends. What do I want to do with my comfortability? Because I may not want to be comfortable with my wife. Maybe yes, I want that traditional. But who's to say I want to be comfortable? I might want to work more hours so I can provide for my kids. I want to, like, I have this mentality right now that when my kids grow up and if they get into a subject that I don't know, just in case, whether they need help with it or not, just in case, I'm going to read their chapter ahead before I go to sleep. So that way when they come home the next day and they're like, I didn't get my teacher, I'm going to be able to help them. So yes, my lifestyle might be comfortable, but my life may not be comfortable because I'm going to make sure my kids are going to be better than I was.
And you know what? That's a good point, because I think that's what happens to most Americans. And I think it's not like a nature, or it's just not something that happened naturally. I think the power structure, which is the greedy people, is what they do is they make people busy. They keep you busy so you won't deal with the real issues. Of course, they do distractions with this, distractions with that. But the real, especially with, I believe in white America, because think about this in the civil rights bills and all that probably would have never got signed with a lot of participation from white people. So the power structure who really doesn't want blacks to have whatever they don't want them to have said, you know what, we can't have these white people helping out. So we got to keep them busy. So boom, they created, oh, let's mess up the air. Uh-oh. So now we got the same people running 5Ks for green and stuff, for air pollution. They would have been helping black people. Oh, let's mess with these gay rights. Oh. The same people, the same gay people who've been helping the civil rights movement or helping blacks get their rights, now they got to fight for their rights. You know, so on and so on. It's like, oh, let's mess up the food, make it more cancer so people be worried about their own cancer, their own medical health. You get what I'm saying? And I don't believe this just happened naturally. That's my whole point. And I think what you said is real key is that you are going to be comfortable within you're going to be uncomfortable within your comfortable environment. And that is what's happening. You understand what I mean? And so what I'm really trying to understand is I get that because especially when I look at a Christian, I say to myself, why don't they speak up more on political issues? Now, I see them speaking up like Republicans and stuff speaking up on political issues, but it's within the framework of the
Republican Party.
Yes,
How
exactly.
funny is that? And, going back to people, what if, something we don't think about it, and I've never thought about it until right now was, what if the Republican people don't even believe in the Republican things that they're saying, but they're just following the crowd?
Wow. That go back to America's one big old cult.
yeah, we have that issue.
They're just following the crowd. You said it because I see that too. Because Ronald Reagan was a Republican, right? A very conservative Republican. And when I was growing up, a lot of people in my community didn't like him because he cut a lot of the programs and stuff. Because I grew up in the inner city, but I'm not saying I liked him. But what I know is, of course, when he cut everything, it made people do. You have to get up and do something or whatever, right? But it hurt a lot of people. But the one aspect of him as a human being that I did like was the fact that here it is. He is this main, powerful conservative, right? But his kids didn't end up conservatives. Like that has always made me respect him more. Just like how Nancy was staring at him all the time too. But you see his son doing commercials, Ron Reagan, and he's a very liberal. His daughter, very liberal. That's awesome. Like, I've never understood. I get like when your kids are small, taking them to church or whatever. And like even you, look what happened with you. You changed denominations with your parents. That make me respect your parents even more. Not that if you would have stayed there, I would have had not respect. But it's like people should have
openness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. But like you said, people follow the crowd, man.
Yeah, and I mean, since you have me here as a Christian, I guess, specialist, I'm.
Well, now you're not a specialist, but you are very wise for your age, but you bring that Christian perspective.
I think because I think I'm wise for my age because my health is of a 40-year-old man. So.
Ooh, got a sense of humor. We got to see that sense of humor a little bit more, Dave. A little bit more. Come on, man.
I try squeezing it in.
Okay, because people need.
I had to
see.
kind of reach for that one, as you could tell. But
okay, because people need to see you Christians. Y'all laugh a little bit sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I want to talk to you about next week? About your music taste. And Christian, because you talk about this one rapper named Lecrae, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's a good topic. So when we doing prep, you can remind me, man, because I get carried away sometimes during the show.
I will say this, since we did talk about how people follow society, and the perfect scripture for this is broad is the road that leads to that everyone follows. Narrow is the path to salvation. In other words, you can follow the crowd all you want, but that's just going to end you in a place you don't want to be. You follow Christ, which is a narrow path because it's a hard path. It's not a comfortable path, and you'll see the results, in whether it's here or in heaven. So, and, you know, I just had to end in a positive note.
Oh, that's a beautiful ending. All right, man. All right, Dave. I'll see you next week,
All
or
right,
I'll hear
yeah,
from
see
you
you.
next week.